We often think strength is about pushing through the noise, about muscle, about grit, about forcing ourselves to succeed, no matter the cost. But what if I told you that true strength lies not in forcing our will upon the world, but in knowing when to surrender it? What if true strength is found in vulnerability? Let me tell you something that might challenge everything you've been taught. In Greek mythology, there's a story about a man named Odysseus, the king of Ithaca. As he sailed through dangerous seas, he had to pass an island inhabited by the Sirens, women with voices so captivating, their songs lured sailors to their deaths. Now Odysseus knew what was coming. He knew the temptation of the Sirens would be too powerful, so he ordered his men to block their ears with beeswax and tied himself to the mast of the ship. He knew that the call of the Sirens would be too strong for his willpower to resist. And sure enough, as they neared the island, Odysseus begged to be freed from the ropes, to sail closer to the danger. But his men followed his earlier orders. No matter how much he pleaded, they ignored him and sailed on. And Odysseus was the only man ever to hear the siren song and live to tell the tale. So, what can we learn from this story? Well, Odysseus didn't just rely on his own willpower. He knew his limits. He knew that there would be moments where his own strength wouldn't be enough. And that's when he needed to surrender control to others. He needed to be tied down to avoid making a fatal mistake. Just like Odysseus, we all have our own sirens, temptations, desires, habits, situations that threaten to pull us off course. And sometimes, the most courageous thing we can do is surrender. It's not a weakness, it's an act of wisdom. We all have these moments, don't we? These quiet struggles where we fight ourselves, fighting against temptation, against desires that aren't aligned with who we want to be. We think if we just push harder, if we just exert more willpower, we'll be able to overcome anything. Maybe it's staying up late to meet an impossible deadline, knowing deep down you need rest. Maybe it's sticking to that rigid diet even though your body is screaming for something more. Maybe it's forcing yourself to stay in a situation that's draining you because you've convinced yourself that quitting would mean weakness. Here's the truth. You're human, and being human means you're imperfect. And in our imperfection, we find our strength, not in brute force, but in understanding when to ask for help. That's where vulnerability comes in. The moment you admit that you can't do it all by yourself, that's the moment you free yourself. That's when you find the true power in surrendering your willpower. I know this sounds counterintuitive. You're thinking, but what about discipline? What about control? The truth is, discipline is powerful. But sometimes discipline isn't about pushing forward against every obstacle. It's about knowing when to step back, knowing when you need someone else to step in for you. I want you to think about a time when you've been at your lowest, when you felt like everything was on your shoulders and the world was demanding more from you than you could give. What did you do? Did you keep pushing, or did you, maybe for the first time, let someone help you? Did you have the courage to ask for that help? There is nothing weak about admitting you need support. Nothing weak about asking for help when your willpower is stretched thin. That, my friend, is wisdom. That is strength. Think about the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus. They taught us that life isn't about control over everything. It's about control over ourselves. It's about accepting what we cannot change and knowing when we need to lean on others. This is the paradox. True strength comes from surrender. When you recognize that you can't do it all, and you let go of that need for constant control, you open the door to something greater. You allow others to support you. You allow yourself to grow. Maybe it's as simple as talking to a friend. Maybe it's setting that boundary at work. Maybe it's seeking professional help when your mind feels like it's on the edge. Whatever it is, it's okay to let go. But here's the real question. Are you willing to accept your own vulnerability? Are you willing to trust that by surrendering control, you'll gain something far more powerful? Peace, clarity, strength that comes not from resistance, but from acceptance. The sea doesn't fight the tide, it surrenders to it, and in that surrender, it finds its flow, its rhythm, and its power. So do you. Strength lies not in fighting every battle alone, but in knowing when to lay down your arms and ask for help. Surrendering your willpower is not a weakness. It is the strength to admit, I can't do this alone. And when you embrace that, you embrace the true power of living. The path to greatness doesn't have to be walked alone. Be strong enough to ask for help. Be vulnerable enough to admit when you need it. And you'll find a strength deeper than anything you could have imagined. Think about whether this channel is worthy of getting your love and support. If it is, don't hesitate. We will meet in the next video. Until then, keep evolving.